Hello, David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. You know, there's a handful of moments in this hobby of ours where we can actually make a difference. And that's a bit of the theme of this video today. You see, we're going to have you get on a plane with me and head to California, where I was honored to be invited to an incredible celebration. A celebration of the Ian Fleming Foundation, the 30 years of existence. Now, what is the Ian Fleming Foundation? We have to answer the why first. The Ian Fleming Foundation is a group of individuals that decided to do something about a lot of varied things that we connect with in our hobby. First of all, yes, they're known for preserving artifacts, props, wardrobe, merchandise, and most of all, the cars and vehicles of James Bond. They have brought them back from the brink of non-existence to actually being shown in a museum. And you're going to see some of that in this video. But there's more to that. Yeah, the Ian Fleming Foundation has a lot of different layers. For example, did you know that they also preserve the works of Ian Fleming, literally the literature that exists, different pieces and parts and books? They're the ones that are also putting Ian Fleming's James Bond in the hands of many people. But in addition to that, they also raise funds to create scholarships, opportunities for people to be educated and to prolong the whole aspect of, well, just some of the things that we fundamentally believe in, which is supporting the Bond community and other people trying to grapple and connect with the thing that Bond brings to bear. Long way of saying, folks, I am majorly supporting the Ian Fleming Foundation. This is a video where you're going to get a test of being at the celebration itself. Now, that all sounds wonderful. Here's my little asterisk. In the best of intentions, it was a crazy night. There was some drink, there was some food, there were celebrities, there was music, all of that you're going to see. But in that, the little plug that goes to my iPhone was pulled out. So unfortunately, some of my celebrity interviews, some of the interviews of the Ian Fleming Foundation itself, all you hear is crowd noise. Perfect example is, Fiona Volpe, Luciano Paluzzi, who, you can see right here, I'm embracing her, I'm talking to her, we're waxing poetic about the Bahamas. She's sitting on the Die Another Day skidoo. I mean, it's the perfect opportunity, and you can't hear a blessed thing. So here's what I did. I took the noise level and I tried to tweak, and there are some interviews in here, and I think you're going to get a kick out of them, and who I was able to interview. I even have a broccoli in there, maybe two. Yeah, you'll see, you'll see. So you're going to want to watch this video, and then I'll connect with you at the end. So we are here with the wonderful Maud. Yes, and David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. Thank you so much. So what is this like? I mean, you're back, you're amongst the vehicles, the people, it's more Bond recognition. How does this feel?
It's always wonderful.
Right.
Yeah. No question.
Is it the recognition? Is it coming back? Do you get nostalgic about it?
That too, yes, of course. Seeing all my old friends and meeting you, and I love seeing the chorus. Fantastic.
It's amazing.
It's all history.
It is.
Lovely to see that it's continue.
But you've been in not just one, but two Bond films.
Yeah.
Is that something, would you say, extra special for you?
Yes, of course it is. I'm proud.
Yeah. Now, one, you met your demise. One, you were almost a hero, if you will. You were supposed to be the bad guy, but of course, there's a wonderful twist, and you're amazing at it.
I'm going to always have to fall for Bond.
Oh, I like that. That should be like a T-shirt at some point. So, talk to me about the nostalgic, the history. Does Bond follow you everywhere you go?
No.
It doesn't. I like that.
I'm living very normal life these days. And but I do enjoy these moments of coming out and meeting my old friends and appreciating all the many people.
It does. It's nice. I think it's the connection that you have to Bond. I saw so many faces where they just look at you and they're immediately transported back. And that's such a moment of happiness.
Yeah, it is for me too.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about your memories of Roger Moore. I mean, how was he?
Oh, I miss Roger. He was a wonderful man. He was a good soul, very smart, very funny, and basically a really good human being. And I love his sense of humor. And he didn't take himself seriously, which also.
Which we need more of that nowadays, don't we?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we all miss him deeply. Did he kind of sort of bring out the best in you, would you say?
I think he was very generous with me, because I was rather nervous in my doing whatever I had to do in one of the Bond roles, and I think he was very, very comforting and very helpful.
I love it. Well, you would never know it. You did an amazing job. So we thank you for everything that you did.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Love it. So I am here with the absolute wonderful Gloria Hendry. Gloria, come here. I have to thank you because I've said this to you before, but you have saved a lot of people. And what I mean by that is there have been times when I've even been down. I have an audience, but you've come to me even in those down times and you've lifted my spirits. So not just as a Bond girl or part of the Bond franchise, but you're just a great person.
Oh, wow. And it takes one to know one.
I love that.
But you are too. I mean, it's incredible. You even say, "Oh, today is a down day for me," but then you continue to talk and you just bring everybody back up again. Because what you're doing is hard too. Every single day you get out there.
I do.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for it. And the clothes. Oh my God, the clothes. Oh.
Okay, that's it. We're done. No, we got to keep continuing. I want to stop there because, gosh, I've never had so many compliments. But first of all, we've got to talk about, I mean, the fact that you've been part of the franchise. When you come to an event like this, what does this mean to you?
Oh gosh, what does it mean to me? First of all, this is the longest running franchise ever, series. I mean, what, how many years? 55? Something like that?
It is
years?
60 years.
And it's what, the 20 what, Bond?
25th.
And I did the 8th, believe it or not. I can't believe it. And all the ups and downs that they've been through. You talk about the American dream. I'm serious. The American dream, where Harry Saltzman comes from and where Cubby Broccoli comes from.
Yeah.
And this, they're no longer with us. And the family has picked it up and they're still calling me. And the rest of us, it's amazing. And we have so much fun with the Bond family. And Ian Fleming now has run out of all of his books.
Yes.
But they're trying to copy it. I hope the franchise makes it. But so far, what? Die Another Day
Yeah.
was not a franchise. It was not a Ian
That's
Fleming.
true. That's true. They diverted from the books. Yeah.
Yes. So Ian Fleming will live on forever.
So there's going to be a Bond 26. We know that.
Yes, we do.
Do you love? I mean, do you go out to the theater and do you enjoy every film that moves forward?
Yeah, I haven't seen a film of the Bonds. Bond? No, I haven't seen anything I haven't liked. Because I think they really struggle to, and I shouldn't say struggle, but yes, it is always a struggle to perfect.
This is work.
Yes, and it is work.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes, it is work.
Absolutely.
And a lot of muda.
Oh, yes, it is. Now, you got to talk about Roger Moore.
Oh, yes.
Because he was your Bond.
Oh.
How was it like to work with Sir Roger Moore?
Sir Roger Moore was wonderful. He had great humor. I mean, he's always tongue-in-cheek and everything. 1 minute, we were talking and he'll slip in a line and you go, oh, you didn't say that.
Oh my gosh.
And he would invite me to some of his events. For example, in the New York Times, LA Times, New York Magazine, something like that, the publishing of his book, his latest book. He even invited me, and I came in, and he recognized me. He said, "Gloria Hendry." See what I mean? I thought I starred in the movie, and I didn't star in Red Blood Diary.
But he brought out the best in you, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, he did.
And we love your portrayal of Rosie. I mean, it's so amazing. And it connects with people still today. I mean, people are wandering around, they look at you, I'm going to say it, I'm just going to say it, they look at you goo-goo-eyed. Just because they say, like, you know, that's Rosie, that's who we connected with.
Wow, that's really great. Thank you for that. Thank you. And I, as an artist, confirmation, I try my darndest to give it my best.
Yeah. One last question.
Yes.
I mean, your character, Rosie, do you think she was a misunderstood? I mean, yes, a turncoat, a little bit, kind of in the end. But I mean, do you think he was misunderstood?
First of all, Bond was to be concentrated on. Rosie Carver was in between both characters, and I tried my best to make it work. Well, they really worked on it, but at the same time, when I remember getting the script, I said, what am I going to do with this part? What am I going to do with this part? Because she's such a dingbat. Oh, did I say something?
No, you're good. You're good. That's fine. That's PC. Yeah.
So I tried. I really tried.
Yeah.
And really, thank you, fans. I really appreciate how you feel about Rosie. So I was successful
You were.
to give her depth.
You brought
That was the
dimension.
point. To give her more than that one-dimensional character.
Yeah. You want to know the reality though? Gloria Hendry brings a fourth dimension, and that's the dimension of goodness. You are such a wonderful person.
Thank you
So
so
thank you.
much.
Come here. Mwah. Love this lady. Mwah. All right.
Did I hurt you?
No, you didn't. And you can hurt me. It's all right. I'll take it. All right, so here we are. We're at the Ian Fleming Foundation event, and I've met some incredible friends. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Tony Broccoli. Cubby Broccoli was my father. Barbara and Michael Wilson are my brother and sister.
That's right, and we have the lovely,
Rika Broccoli.
and these people have been amazing, but we have some incredible storytelling moments. So you've got a particular story that I think our audience would love to hear.
Okay, well, I worked on about 10 Bond movies, and starting when I was about 18. And, a lot of amusing things happened over the years. And the one that I can talk about now is a funny story about when I was working on the underwater unit on The Spy Who Loved Me in the Bahamas. So I was like a second assistant location manager, something. I was about 22 years old. And I had many little jobs, errands I had to do. And one of them, when they shoot, somebody had to get shot multiple times underwater with a spear gun.
Okay.
And they use squibs, but the squibs are actually condoms filled with red dye.
Wait, actual condoms, like condom
Yes.
condoms. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I mean, maybe nowadays they have professional items for this, but in those days they used condoms.
All right.
And they attach them to the body of the person underwater, and when they burst, they look like blood. So they needed a whole bunch of them. In fact, they needed about 200 of them. So I had to go to the pharmacy in the Bahamas and said, I need some condoms. And they said, how many? I said, how many do you have? And of course, they didn't know what it was for, so they must have thought I was the biggest stud in Nassau at the time. And I cleaned out about three drugstores of condoms.
So you were the official James Bond condom wrangler, is what you're saying.
That was one of my little jobs, yes.
Now, we would never see that in the credits of
Yes.
The Spy Who Loved Me, condom wrangler.
Yes. Another job I had on that same movie was I had to drive a sea lion to work. So it would sit in the front of my car with a sea lion wrangler in the back. And
I'm sorry, do you mean an actual animal?
yes, an actual sea lion. It was actually cut from the title sequence, but they were going to use it. But I drove it to work about for a couple of weeks, and a car would drive up next to me and see the sea lion and say, "What the hell is going on?" So you have some unusual jobs like that when you're
So
working
there's
on a Bond
nothing
movie.
wrong with being condom and sea lion wrangler. I mean,
That's
you had a
right.
part in Bond. That's more than any of us can say.
Well, I had connections.
We love stories like that because there's nothing like we've ever heard before.
Right,
So thank you
right.
so much for that uniqueness.
You're welcome.
Love it.
Nobody does it better. Makes me feel sad. Nobody does it as good as you. Baby, you're the way that you hold me, whenever you hold me, there's some kind of magic inside you that keeps me from crying, but just keep me coming. How'd you learn to do the things you do? Nobody does better. Makes me feel sad for once. Nobody does it as good as you. Baby,
So I am here with Raymond Benson. My gosh.
I'm here with David Zarisky.
What does that even mean? I mean, you've all probably spent many an evening having a little bit of a drink and a lot of Raymond Benson writing. Raymond, you have done such an incredible job extending the Bond storytelling. I mean, what does that mean for you today?
Wow. Well, I grew up with Bond. I was a kid when I discovered Bond. I saw all the Connerys on the big screen, real time.
Yes.
I started reading Ian Fleming when I was 11, which in the 60s, they were considered risque, adult books.
Right.
But I was sneaking them in and reading them. And so, yeah, I grew up with just this passion for James Bond. And then I became a real person. I went to college. I studied theater. I moved to New York City. I started directing plays and writing music. But then in the 80s, it all kind of came back to me. And I had this idea to do this labor of love, which was the James Bond Bedside Companion. And it took 3 years to do. But I went to England and I met members of Ian Fleming's family and his friends and colleagues, and we got along, and the book came out, and it kind of set my career on a different path.
And from that, it really garnered the attention. And so, did they reach out to you and say, we want somebody to pen these, or?
Well, John Gardner was writing the books all through the 80s and in the first half of the 90s.
Right.
And in 95, he decided he didn't want to do it again. And the Fleming people, the Ian Fleming Publications, Peter Jansen Smith, who was the Fleming's literary agent and the chairman of the literary business, he called me out of the blue. Just, hello, Raymond. John Gardner has decided to hang up his hat. Would you be interested in giving it a shot?
And you went for it.
Well, how could I not? You know,
Right.
But it was, gosh, big shoes to fill.
Unbelievable. And you have this incredible tome of literature that you can call your own. I mean, I'm going to ask a really geeky fan question. I have to. We're here tonight. Do you ever walk around and think about the gravitas, the heaviness of the fact that you have an official connection, a ribbon, if you will, that goes through the world of Bond?
I probably had, that was more of a weight 20 years ago.
Okay.
You know, now, you know, I do my own books, and but the fact that I'm here and doing all this, it's still, you know, I tried to sneak away, but they pull me back in.
It's like the Bond Mafia. My
You're right,
gosh,
yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah, but I have a new book coming out in October that I'm really, really, really proud of.
What's the name of it?
It's called The Mad, Mad Murders of Marigold Way.
Ooh.
It's kind of like a Coen Brothers movie, only in prose. It's a dark comedy that
love
takes
that.
place at the beginning of the pandemic. It's a
Okay.
murder mystery.
So where can we find that? On Amazon and
October
everywhere?
4th, it gets published, but it's on Amazon. You can pre-order it now.
All right, take a
All
look
right.
for it.
Yeah.
If you enjoy Raymond, and I know you will, you're going to love that book. Raymond, so great to see you as always.
Thanks, David.
This is the man. All right, I'm here with Mike. Mike, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Sure.
Now, you're to blame for all this, it seems like.
Pretty much.
How did this all begin? And it didn't start with cars, did it?
No, it started with the submarine, the Neptune submarine from Pure Eyes Only, when Saul Cooper, who was the publicist for Eon, who actually worked for Warfield, but you know it's easier to say Eon than explain who Warfield was, called me. I was working. I'm an engineer. He called me at my desk and said, "Mike, you want to buy a submarine?" I said, "Saul, I collect books." And he said, "Yeah, but if you don't buy it, we're going to sink it, and people are going to use it as a dive.
Oh my gosh.
A dive spot to go to." So I called John Cork. I called Doug Redinas, who were two of the biggest Bond geeks that I was aware of, and we got together, went to New York, bought it. John and I kicked in money. Doug drove it back to Illinois and restored it. So that was his share.
Oh.
And it took us a year, but we finally got the foundation. We wanted to start a nonprofit. And it took us a year, you know, all the legal stuff. You know, it's a California corporation, that takes a while. You know, so 92 was when it finally got, it was April 10th, 1991 when Saul Cooper called me. And we got the incorporation papers in September of 92, so exactly 30 years ago.
So, I mean, I've got a logical question because we're sitting here, there are celebrities. We're celebrating tonight 30 years of the Ian Fleming Foundation.
Right.
Talk to me, when you walk into an atmosphere like this with all of these people, how do you feel? I mean, less about the operational stuff, but how does this make you feel?
It's exciting, but you got to remember, I'm from a small town in Illinois, a little farm town in Illinois, and I never thought I'd grow up to even meet a celebrity. You know, maybe lucky see one walking down the sidewalk, but never in Illinois until I moved out here. So being around the cars themselves are celebrities.
That's true.
Being around the celebrities, the people that made this stuff that made it exciting when I was a child.
Right.
I mean, at one point, I got asked by the Fleming family to do the speech at Ian Fleming's, when they put the blue plaque on Ian Fleming's house.
Oh my gosh.
And they asked me to give the speech. And I was the only American there. I had my 10-year-old daughter with me. And they said at the end of your speech, they warned me the night before, by the way, at the end of the speech, you introduce Desmond Llewellyn, who will pull the cords
Right.
and unveil it. And so I said, everybody asks me now that I'm president of the foundation, did you want to be James Bond when you grew up? And I said, no, I'm an engineer. I wanted to be this man right here.
You pointed to Q.
I pointed to Q.
Yeah.
Desmond was standing right there, and so I got to introduce him, and that was one of the highlights of my life.
It had to be.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And just standing there in the presence of Fleming's family was there.
Right.
The Queen's lawyer was there. The people from the estate and everything, and then standing there on the stage with Desmond Llewellyn
Huge.
was just goosebumpy.
All right, so I'm going to ask you an incredibly unfair question.
Okay.
You're going to dislike me after this.
Okay.
But here it is. So you were the one that lit this powder keg that everybody has been enjoying for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to see the Ian Fleming Foundation going?
That's a fair question. It was alluded to. John Cork alluded to it in the Nights and the Speeches. We've got it on rock solid ground now, as you can see by looking around, with the vehicles. But as I said, it's the Ian Fleming Foundation. We want to go back to the beginnings, and we want to use the Ian Fleming Foundation. We want to bring in more of the literature and all that, but we really want to tell the story of the history, the 70-year history of Bond, and the 60-year history of Bond movies, and point out the history and the cultural changes and how his stories, the stories he was telling, really reflected what the culture was in England at the time he was writing, and then the movies did the same thing when they started. Like the scene in Dr. No where he walks in and there's the painting sitting there.
Oh, yes.
And he nods to it. Everybody in England got it. Nobody in the U.S. had a clue what they were talking about. But it's famous. I mean, and there's that kind of stuff. And then the science behind it. If you look, Fleming did it, and the Bond producers did it. They figured out what cutting edge science might be in 5 years, and it's like the wet bike over here.
Yes.
I mean, that's the very first wet bike ever invented, and the first time anybody ever saw it was Roger Moore driving it. I mean, the rocket pack.
Yeah.
The Bill Suter flew in Thunderball, or Sean Connery looked like he
Yes.
I mean, those are cutting edge things, and you could go on and on and on all day about that. But also the cultural history. Both the books and the movies, the way the culture has changed, it's a mirror of that. And I think we want to start telling that story more and getting more involved in that.
By the way, I love what you're talking about, because the one thing I think you've done very well, when I've really researched the Ian Fleming Foundation, people think it's the cars and they think it's the vehicles, but it's really been about Ian Fleming's works. It's about the literature. You've supported people going to college. I mean, there's so many dimensions to it. At the heart of it, though, it's all storytelling. It's people telling stories. Bond's at the center, but it's people involving themselves as the character within the story.
If you think about it, we have a Ian Fleming Foundation scholarship with the Roger Ebert Center at the University of Illinois, but it's in the College of Media. I mean, what is media? It's telling stories, whether you're a journalist and you're telling a true story,
Right.
or a novelist telling a fictional story. It's telling a story. And that's what the scholarship's about. And it's an undergrad, I should have said, it's an undergraduate research scholarship to get the young kids fresh into college, to learn more and to look in those areas. And of course, we've got the book collection that we've funded, so as we get drawings, like we've got Ken Adams' drawing that he gave to George Barris for Blofeld's Escape Sub over there. That's in the library now, because we had it when and all of George Barris's notes and the letters back and forth between Eon and George Barris, those are in the library there. Those are important history when you go back and look and see what it took to do that. And all those letters were written out of Las Vegas to George Barris here in Los Angeles. And it's just fascinating. It's fascinating stuff.
Well, first of all, we want to thank you, because you've started this, it continues on, it's a part of the legacy of Bond, and we wouldn't have this moment, these evenings, and even the history without somebody like you who started this. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All right.
And just
No, please.
we're going, this show is going to go to Saratoga, New York.
Somebody said that to me.
And
so is there a car place there? Or?
Saratoga Automobile Museum. And the fascinating thing about that got me excited when they called and said, we'd like to bring Bond in motion. And I said, well, I'm in favor of it, but you have to talk to Eon, right? I said, but do you realize that Saratoga, New York, Fleming wrote at least 3 stories based on that?
Yes.
In Diamonds Are Forever, there's Saratoga in a Studilac.
Yeah.
It's Carr and Saratoga. You're
The
right.
mud baths, everything.
You're right in the heart of Fleming country. I mean, he used to go up to Black Hill Hollows Farm and meet with his friends up there. That's why he knew it. He rode to Saratoga in a Studilac. Yeah, I mean, that's important. So they'll bring, they're going to bring a part of this in.
Yeah.
And this show, a subset of it, it's not as big a museum as this
Right.
one. A subset will go straight from here to New York.
Are you saying that Bond will return?
Bond will return. and there's another place that's going after Saratoga, but
Oh my gosh.
I'm not at liberty to tell you
Don't do
about.
it.
Yeah.
I hear that they'll shoot you with a dart.
Yeah, that in fact that I signed a non-disclosure agreement.
That'll do it. It's
That's
the legal
worst.
stuff.
The lawyers will get me.
Yeah, those lawyers.
Those lawyers.
Those attorneys. Mike, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was fun. And
Pleasure.
thank you for coming.
Of course.
Great.
Which marks the 30th anniversary of this public benefit, non-profit corporation dedicated to preserving the history of Ian Fleming's literary works and the James Bond phenomenon. As a Brit, you will understand that I want to open tonight's proceedings by paying tribute to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. While the Queen and her incredible service is being celebrated right now around the world, tonight we should remember her unique connection to James Bond. Ian Fleming's first novel, Casino Royale, was published in the year of the Queen's coronation, 1953. She was a great fan of the films, and she met all 6 of the Bond actors at the world premieres in London. She knighted Sean Connery and Roger Moore. One of the most memorable moments of her reign for all the people in this room is surely going to be when Daniel Craig escorted her to the Olympics in London in 2012. God save the Queen. Over the past 3 decades, the Ian Fleming Foundation has procured, restored, preserved and archived many artifacts relating to Fleming and his creation, including over 40 vehicles used in the film series. We are proud to have 28 of them here tonight in the Petersen and Eon Productions Bond in Motion. Before I introduce the 3 founders of the IFF, I would like to read you a message sent from James Bond himself, George Lazenby. He said, "My manager brought me to see the Bond in Motion exhibit when it was in London, and again last December at the Petersen Museum. I must say, it's very impressive, and imagine it to be very popular with all the fans. For me personally, it was very special to see the Mercury Cougar again, as it brought back so many wonderful memories of making on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Having known IFF co-founder Doug Rodenius for many years, it makes me proud to see the amazing work he and everyone else involved in the foundation has done over the last 30 years. So I'm now joined by the 3 guys who formed this wonderful organization back in 1992. It was their combined creative vision that led to the rescue of so many of the vehicles in this collection. First, I would like to welcome John Cork, the author, screenwriter, and documentary maker who produced, wrote, and directed over 30 documentaries which form the bonus content for the James Bond collection on Blu-ray and DVD. Among many other official 007 projects, John has also authored a number of highly regarded books on the subject. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome John Cork.
Ian Fleming's niece, Kate Grimman, sent a note she asked for us to share. I send my warmest wishes to the Ian Fleming Foundation on the occasion of its 30th anniversary. The foundation was a pioneer in recognizing the huge importance of Ian Fleming and his creation, James Bond, who's done a remarkable job of preserving the Fleming legacy. Kate's generous claim that we were pioneers made me reflect on those whose footsteps we are following. It took some time for many to see the James Bond phenomenon as something more than a few fascinating books and films, to see it as a cultural mirror that reflected Cold War tensions, the sexual revolution, the anxieties of the atomic era, and the way technology was shaping our lives. From the first publication of the first James Bond novel in 1953 until today, James Bond has not only been escapist entertainment, but a reflection of our shifting values. Long before I helped found the Ian Fleming Foundation, others were digging into what made 007 tick. Stephen J. Rubin was interviewing filmmakers. Richard Shinkman was publishing James Bond comic strips and Ian Fleming newspaper features in his fan club magazine, cheekily entitled Bondage. Raymond Benson interviewed many of Fleming's closest friends. Graham Rye unearthed rare Bond history in his fan club magazine in the UK and hosted events with actors, filmmakers, and props. Dave Worrell published research on James Bond's Aston Martin and the early Bond toys. These pioneers paved the way for us to follow in their path, but we chose a slightly different road. We created a nonprofit foundation. Why? The reality is a nonprofit can take on missions that no for-profit enterprise would ever dream of considering. We can work with copyright holders, but remain separate, focusing always on the long-term vision of researching, preserving, and archiving as an end unto itself. James Bond has survived because the character taps into something essential about our culture over the last 70 years, and we hope that 70 years from now, somebody may be able to look at some of the archives that we helped create and understand a little bit more about the world that we live in today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, John. And the next person I want to introduce you to has been integral to the foundation. Doug Rodenius has remained the beating heart of the Ian Fleming Foundation. It has been his determination and incredible research skills that has led us to make so many successful discoveries of lost or forgotten Bond film vehicles. Today, he serves as the Foundation's archivist, and the safe care and responsibility of the collection lays in his capable hands. Doug also heads up the restoration projects once they have been recovered. Ladies and gentlemen, Doug Rodenius.
Ian Fleming's literary agent, a man named Peter Jansen Smith, who would have turned 100 years old this past Monday, sat on the board of the Ian Fleming Foundation as chairman, and we're thrilled and honored that he did that. His stepdaughter, Karen Mantell, has sent a message on Peter's behalf. Greetings from London. Wishing the Ian Fleming Foundation heartfelt congratulations on 30 years of love, dedication, and hard work to keep the incredible world of 007 alive for as many fans. I'd also like to take a moment and tell you how honored we are at the Foundation to have a member of the Broccoli family with us this evening, the producing family that's brought us such joy for the past 60 years. Tony Broccoli and his wife Rika are with us this evening as well. Before I begin, I'd like to take a moment to recognize some of the Foundation's volunteers who have flown in from across the United States to be with us this evening. If you would please raise your hands so we can show our appreciation for all the hard work that you've done. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone that has their hand raised is one of the reasons to what you're going to see a little bit later this evening. They're hardworking individuals. They get their hands dirty, so I'm grateful for them. They're made up of dedicated men and women who help me bring everything that you're going to see later back to life. It's not always easy, is it, Colin? I couldn't do it without you. I'm often asked, why James Bond vehicles? Why would a foundation be procuring James Bond vehicles? Well, the answer to that is very simple. His creator loved loved cars. Ian was someone you could call a gearhead. Now, gearhead wasn't a term years back when Ian was young, but trust me, Ian was a gearhead. He also loved American cars, much to his wife Anne's chagrin. She hated them. Toward the end of his life, Ian died in 1964 at the young age of 56 years old. He owned 2 Ford Thunderbirds and finally a Studebaker Avante, which most times he could never convince Anne to get in to go anywhere. You can see his love of cars in his novels and certainly on the big screen. They are an integral part of the Fleming Bond legacy. So much so that many of them have become stars in their own right. An example of that is the magnificent 1964 Aston Martin DB5 from Goldfinger. And a side note about that, in 1964, right after the film was produced, the producers got a hold of Aston Martin and said, by the way, we want to use that car and take it around the world. And we need somebody in your company to do that. So there was a young 25-year-old kid who had just went to work for Aston Martin. And they went to Mike and they said, Mike, you're going to take this car all by yourself all around the world promoting Goldfinger. Well, that young 25-year-old is here tonight. Mike, where are you? Over here. We here at the Ian Fleming Foundation are dedicated to finding, procuring, and restoring these wonderful vehicles so they can be used to raise money for charity. None of us connected to the Ian Fleming Foundation are paid a salary, nor has any of us ever profited from our involvement with this wonderful organization. In a few minutes, you'll be going downstairs, and while you're there, you're going to see a red 1971 Mustang that was used in the film Diamonds Are Forever. Now, we've owned that car for a long, long time. And it's my mission, before I'm no longer around, I want to see that car brought back to its stunningly beautiful condition that it's meant to be seen in. Now, don't be fooled. The Petersen people are magicians, and the lights and the effects that they have on it, you're going to look at it and you're going to go, that's not so bad. Trust me, it's bad. So if you look at the back of the postcard that you were given upon your arrival this evening, there's information on how, if you so choose, to donate and help in that restoration project. Lastly, I'll be given a tour of the James Bond vehicles when we get downstairs. So if you would like to tag along, I promise I will talk as loud as I can. God save the King.
Thank you for that, Doug. So finally, I would like to welcome to the stage the Foundation's president, Dr. Mike Van Blaricum. Mike is one of the world's foremost experts on the works of Ian Fleming. He has also curated one of the finest collections of books and printed matter relating to the subject in the world. It has been Mike's business acumen that has secured the longevity of the Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mike Van Blaricum.
Thanks, Matt. I realize that I'm the person standing between you and seeing the exhibit downstairs, and that's why most of you actually came. That and the vespers they're serving at the bar. In 1991, Saul Cooper, who was the publicist for Eon Productions, called me at work and said, "Hey Mike, you want to buy a submarine?" And I said, "You know, Saul, I collect books. It won't fit on the bookshelf." And he said, "We've got this 23-foot submarine called Neptune that was in For Your Eyes Only, and it's sitting on the Intrepid aircraft carrier in New York Harbor. And if you don't buy it, they're going to sink it. And we can't have that." So I called John Cork, who you've just met, and Doug Rodinez, who were the two biggest Bond geeks that I knew at the time, and said, "Hey, we got an idea. Let's start a foundation. But to start that foundation, a nonprofit foundation, we need approval of all the stakeholders." And the stakeholders were Glidrose Publications, which is now Ian Fleming Publications, Eon Productions, and the Ian Fleming Estate. We got amazing approval from all of them. They encouraged us. And as John pointed out earlier, one of the keys was the fact that we were a nonprofit. Saul Cooper sent me a note, and I'll read his greeting. "How could anyone have possibly imagined that Mike would grow his passion from Ian Fleming's James Bond into the remarkable organization that has been being celebrated today? It's certain proof that dreams do come true in the world of 007. I don't know how one can calculate the value of having such dedicated followers. All the best, Saul." Let me now introduce the Ian Fleming Foundation's Board of Directors. You've already met Matt Field, our MC. Matt is also one of the co-authors of Some Kind of Hero, the remarkable story of James Bond films. His co-author, H.A. Chaudhary, is also here tonight. Colin Clark, who Doug referred to, is from Illinois, and because of his mechanical acumen, is Doug's right-hand man. Brad Frank, who's from Oklahoma, has a world-class Ian Fleming collection that is often used as reference source. I have to also say, in order to embarrass him, this is also Brad's birthday. I cannot tell you how old he is, but he's the same age as Dr. No. The movie, not the book, the movie. Happy birthday, Brad. Three of our board members couldn't make it. Dave Worrell, who's from England, David Reinhardt, who's from Canada, and George Martin. None of them can make it tonight. We also have, whom we've already met, the first American continuation author of the official James Bond novels. And he was one of the board members of the foundation in some of the early years, and that's Raymond Benson, who introduced the band. And in theory, we have the fortune to have Ian Fleming's great nephew, Robert Laycock, with us tonight, but I honestly have not seen him. So, oh, you are here. Okay, sorry, Robert, I've been up here. So we actually have Flemings and Broccoli's in the house tonight, folks. While the Ian Fleming Foundation is primarily known for a collection of James Bond movie vehicles, we are chartered to preserve the entire legacy of Ian Fleming's works. As such, the IFF has endowed the Ian Fleming Foundation collection at the Rare Book and Manuscript Library of the University of Illinois, where we place our printed materials, art, and books so that the items are preserved in perpetuity. And we're always looking for more donations to put in there. The IFS has also endowed the Ian Fleming Foundation Scholarship in the College of Media at the University of Illinois as part of the Roger Ebert Center for Film Studies. The IFF will continue to work with the copyright holders, continue to collect, preserve, and display iconic items from the world of Ian Fleming and James Bond. And because James Bond holds a unique place in popular culture, we will continue to explore the history of Bond in the context of a world that has changed drastically since Fleming wrote Casino Royale 70 years ago. Now, for those purists in here, the book was published 69 years ago, but he wrote it 70 and a half years ago, just so you know. Corinne Turner, who's the managing director of Ian Fleming Publications, has also sent us the following note. I remember well when the Ian Fleming Foundation first came to our offices to look through our archives many years ago. The fact that Peter Jansen Smith trusted you enough to share the material with you says everything. Over the last 30 years, you have lived up to that trust, helping safeguard and building Fleming's legacy. All of us at Ian Fleming Publications Limited, thank you. In closing, I need to thank my wife, Pam,
for her incredible tolerance for 30 years. And if the truth be known, for 50 years, we just celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. Thanks also go to the partners of all the board members and volunteers. They've made the same sacrifice. And I want to extend a special thanks to the Petersen Museum for the fantastic Bond in Motion exhibit, which you're about to see, and to the events team for their gracious help putting this together. And back to you, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Well, we're nearly done, and we're going to get to see the cars in a second. So to finish, the IFF would like to say a big thank you to our musicians tonight. We've got Max Benson, and also we had the Jamie Palmer Quartet. Weren't they great? And in closing, we would like to thank the actors from the James Bond films who have joined us this evening.
Hold on.
I'd like to welcome Luciana Paluzzi from Thunderball.
I have a complaint. Yeah. A complaint. My car, the Mustang is not here. My motorcycle is in another museum in Orlando. Why didn't you buy those two cars?
All right, fun, frivolity. It was an amazing night, amazingly successful. But one thing that I really want to stress to everybody, we have a link below. The Ian Fleming Foundation, although they've celebrated 30 years of wonderful engagement, execution of the focus of their goals and their mission statement, they've made good on everything they sought out. It's only the beginning. It's only the beginning, but you have an opportunity to help. First of all, simple. You may want to just donate, be a part of the Ian Fleming Foundation and what they're trying to do by donating. So we're going to put a donation button under there. Every dollar goes to the preservation of our hobby and what we love and these artifacts. I mean, they're the Indiana Jones of the James Bond community. They're saving these things and putting them in museums and different places that we can observe and enjoy them, all right? But they're doing a lot of other things. And if you want to be a part of it, sometimes they need volunteers, but you want to raise your hand. So I'm putting the link below to their website, which is going to be updated. And I'm hoping to be a part of the advancement of this group, because quite frankly, there are groups and there are groups. This is the latter, meaning this is one that you definitely want to get behind. There is a reason why Ian and Danjak and all the connection points and the celebrities are behind this. This is a group that has a lot of authenticity. They only want to do good by you, by the world of Bond, and the franchise itself. How could you not stand behind that? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something about the Ian Fleming Foundation and the people. In the meantime, this has been David Zaritsky for the Bond Experience. We'll see you all real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching this episode. If you want to be up on the latest from the Bond Experience, just click on this subscribe and subscribe to our channel. You're going to get all the latest and greatest information, plus some exclusive content. And by the way, speaking of content, here's something especially for you, just because we know you. Talk to you soon.